Hello, everybody. We are here gathered today for our New Moon Sister Circle in the sign of Aries. And we're not quite there. We have a few days before this comes to um, full bloom, but we really want to be prepared for this one. With the eclipse that's going on, there's a lot of energy in the world. I think just recently this week, there's been three major earthquakes over 7 points in Taiwan and Morocco and one other place. So definitely sending our thoughts and our energy out to those affected, but also really recognizing the impact and the power of the time that we're living in right now. There's also been some massive solar flare activity that's been going on. The energy of the sun is very heightened right now. This is affecting all of the electromagnetic energy. All of the technology on our planet is affected by these solar flares. And you may feel that you are also being affected by these solar flares. So it's a lot. There's a lot in these charts. There's a lot to dig into. It is such a good time to be setting intentions, not only for yourself in your own life, but also for what we really want to see with the solar eclipse on the world stage. What world do we want to live in? What world do we want to collectively manifest together? And one of the best ways to do that is to really revisit and look back at the cycles of history in your own life, in the world around you, in our countries, in our families, ancestrally, all of that stuff. These cycles are here to come back and teach us a lesson. There's a quote by Utah Phillips, and I won't get the whole thing correct right now, but he's basically saying, you think the past isn't here anymore, but I could go outside and grab a rock and come drop it on your foot. Now, the past didn't go nowhere, did it? And I love that quote because it's just so true. The past is here. It's within us. It's within our DNA. It's within the symbols that we've created as humans. There's a Carl Jung book about symbolism, and he's really psychologically breaking down the symbols, not only of the astrological glyphs that we find that really each have their own unique symbolism that was formed out of the experience of the time during which those planets were discovered. So when you think about, like numerology, the number one represents something, the number two represents something, a solid line represents something, a triangle represents something. There's different um, symbolism within it. So just a way to kind of think deeper and go within with that. But I'm here with my beautiful sister, Emily, and she's gonna also guide us through just some centering. So, do you want to do just like an opening
Yeah, we could do a little opening
just to pull us all in,
breath.
all centered in the moment?
Yeah, so I'm gonna light a little Palo Santo
Mm,
and blow it into your screen.
yeah.
If you know what that smells like, you can just
Mm.
inhale this experience. And so we're gonna take 3 deep breaths together, in through our nose and out through our mouth, just to kind of drop in together. So when you're ready, take a nice deep breath in through your nose and hold it at the top, and exhale through your mouth. Big, deep exhalation. Take a nice deep inhalation through your nose, all the way to the top of your breath, and hold it for a couple seconds. And on 3, 2, 1, exhale through your mouth. Our last deep inhalation, the deepest breath you've taken all day, all the way in through your nose. Hold it at the top, put your hand on your heart, see if you can feel that heart beating. So precious. And in 3, 2, 1, exhale. Welcome to the space.
Thank you, Emmy. Thank you for guiding us through that. It always helps me to start there before
Hmm.
looking at this chart. And I'm gonna screen share so that I'm not looking at it by myself. Where is my screen share? There it is. Okay. So the first thing you're gonna see is our live here, but I'm gonna skip over to the chart and say okay right there to make that thing go away. All right. So this is our eclipse chart. And I want to open up by reminding everybody of the lunar eclipse that we just had. We always have with eclipses, we have an eclipse cycle. So the eclipse cycle lasts really over the course of a year, and it can usually bounce back and forth between a couple of different axes on the eclipse chart. So um, the moon's nodes right now are in Aries and Libra. And so the moon's nodes, just to kind of touch base with everybody about this, when there's an eclipse, what it means is that the sun is on one side of the sky and the moon is either on the other side of the sky or conjunct in the same place. But what makes it an eclipse is that the north and south node of the moon are also lined up with the sun and the moon when they are together, conjoined as they are here for a solar eclipse, or when they are opposite as they are for a lunar eclipse. So this symbol right here that looks like a pair of headphones is the north node, and it's at 15 degrees of Aries in this chart for the 8th. Just opposite of that, at 15 degrees of Libra, is the south node of the moon. And the nodes of the moon in traditional Vedic astrology represent future and past. And it's this constant cycling of the future and the past that are always working together within these energies of whatever's happening in this space-time energy. And so when we have the North Node sitting here in this solar eclipse energy, what that is saying to us is that the energy of the sun, um, which is our raw being, and it's on a world stage. The lunar eclipse is more personal, it's more inward, it's also more involved with shadows, things that are unseen, often being revealed, coming into the solar eclipse as well. So those are more lunar energies. It's feeling, it's nurture, nature, things like that. With the solar energy, it's more about who we are, and it's more about the world stage and the things that are external as well to our being. And so with the sun over here in Aries, Aries, the sign of Aries represents not only the spark because it's cardinal fire. Aries is the cardinal fire. There's three fire signs, a cardinal, a fixed, and a mutable. Cardinal is the initiation of the fire cycle. So you can think of Aries fire as the fire starter. It's the spark, it's the match. Um, uh, the moment that fuel meets spark, you could think of. Because it's cardinal and because it's fresh, Aries we usually see has this energy of just like going for it, this kind of like doing before thinking sort of an energy. It can often look like in early stages of Aries, like just jumping off the edge of a cliff and just falling flat on your ass, right? But as we refine the energy of starting the fire, we start to learn how to start the fire, right? We've learned lessons from our fear. We may be looking back to things that have scared us in the past where we went for it and we fell on our ass. In this case, right now, I think on the world stage, we're really looking at a lot of turmoil, a lot of wars, battles, this fire energy. The planet of Aries that's natal to Aries is Mars. So Martian energy is martial energy. So it's, you can think of like martial arts, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that it's always violence in an excessive or unnecessary way. Sometimes, too, it can also be the other side of that battle, the hero's journey. And so I think it's really important in times like what we're experiencing right now to let that be a reflection outward from ourselves, but also within. That these battles that are happening for every, you know, like hitman or sniper, there's a hero on the other end of that. For every man who is extending himself in violence or woman who is extending themselves in violence, there is an equal opposite to that where there is massive peacekeeping efforts. There are literally people in these areas where this is happening, saving their families, pulling together their communities, making sure that everybody has as much as is possible during these times. So I just want to really urge everybody to stay balanced, kind of at a middle path with um, how you're choosing to perceive what's going on and what you're choosing um, to look to, where you're getting information, and um, also finding that within yourself and in your own daily life. We may all have some pretty intense eclipse gate kind of things happening right now in our lives. I know that I am. My move out date of the house that I'm living in is April 8th on the day of the solar eclipse. So I'm having this very like ecliptic experience of a huge life shifts, not only for myself, but for everybody else that's been in my living space. I wonder if anybody else has um, something happening currently. Does anybody else have something that you feel like you want to share? And just to give some examples, it's pretty amazing usually how real and material these things are in people's lives. Just jump in there if anybody wants to.
For me, I actually feel really good about this eclipse because I'm kind of someone that kind of lives by the moon. I know that sounds crazy, but um, I do a lot of things in cycle with the moon in my life. And actually, I have a really crazy work week this week, and the one day I have off is Monday. And I just feel like this is my time where all my hard work has paid off. I feel like I'm gonna feel the positive sides of the eclipse. Like kind of like coming out the other side, like growing, becoming stronger. So I'm just looking forward to being by myself on that day and just taking in all the energy and, pushing it towards the next goals.
I love that. I love that positive take. It's so true too. Like a lot of it is, how you look at it, how you look at it for sure. I love that outlook. It's definitely inspiring and shows that you have been doing some work, right? Also, the eclipses can be experienced really differently by different people because depending on where your rising sign is, will change what house the eclipse falls in. So in my chart, I'm an Aries rising. So the eclipse is falling in my first house. For somebody else that has a different sign rising, it's going to be a different house. So, do you know what your rising sign is, Ashley?
I want to say it's Scorpio,
Scorpio. Okay. So
but I'm not sure.
we'll look at that together and we'll see like what house is it in at some point. We can do that after the call, but it really interests me. How about you, Emmy, Krystal? You guys have any ecliptic experiences happening for you?
I'm so happy for her, but I was laughing because this was the example of opposites existing. Today is actually my ex-girlfriend's birthday, and she was one heck of an energy. And some issues with the public school system that I thought I had resolved were not. So like as if there's not enough to figure out, like now I have some like big things. I'm like, what a time.
It's so funny that you just said that because the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction on the 20th is on my ex-husband. It's so close to my ex-husband's birthday. So I've been like kind of in a similar like revisiting space, and Mercury's in retrograde right now. Sometimes Mercury's communication and messages. So messages of revisiting things in the past and things being revealed through the eclipses that you didn't know before becoming revealed during the eclipse gate. So that school system thing, interesting.
Yeah. And like even like family stuff, everything erupted today. I've been so zen for like several days now, at home, isolated. I went out into the world, it got crazy.
As it does, as it does. Emmy, what you got? You were raising your hand, so I know you.
Yeah. No, I've been doing so much deep work over the last year, and I've had so many beautiful guides and teachers that have been helping me kind of gently nudging me into doing some really deep work. And one of the bodies of work that I tapped into this year was called a despacho. And I had the opportunity to do kind of a timeline of my life of the really big kind of crossroads that occurred. And despacho is, or descanso. Descanso is like the crossroads or the deaths that you've had to go through in your life, and times when you've had to face a really big decision, or you thought it was the worst thing that ever happened to you, but it ended up putting you on a trajectory that ended up being the best thing that ever happened to you. These kind of crossroads and moments where you had to like kind of just have a part of you die in order to move on to the next part. And that's coming to a full culmination pretty soon. In a couple of weeks, I'm meeting with these two women again, and we're completing our container, and we're going to do a ceremony around that. And so they've been not warning me, but reminding me about this April 20th date that's coming. And they're like, now is the time for you to set some things in motion. Like whatever you set in motion prior to April 20th is going to be catapulted into the next 4 years. Whereas whatever you don't say to the person you want to say it to, or don't act upon this thing you've been thinking about doing, it's kind of going to die. So I've had that energy, and it's the reason I started my ecstatic dance last month. It's the reason I'm going to keep going and doing it tomorrow night. And I'm tapping into a couple opportunities to do some travel, to maybe do some retreats live in person and get to do ecstatic dance for those. So like I feel very much like there's stuff coming. It's very anticipatory for me. And at the same time, I'm kind of having to let go of this idea of I'm too old, I'm not good enough, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like to just fucking put that shit to bed. And I love that I'm able to alchemize that into something creative and see what happens. So,
Oh, I love
whew,
that
a lot of energy.
anticipatory energy that you're talking about. I literally was telling somebody earlier today that I feel like I'm in a birth canal right now. I feel like I'm like
Are
push.
you crowning?
Yeah, it's the ring of fire, which is also, so whenever I was pregnant and I went to my first birthing class, she was like, there's one song, it was like a Medicaid birthing class. It was like so silly. But this woman was awesome. She was like, there's one song that really describes the moment of crowning. It's this one right here. And she put on Johnny Cash. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I was like, oh my God. It's totally so I can't like
Wait, well,
it.
this is when you were giving birth to one of the boys?
It was a birthing class where she
Oh,
was
okay,
like
okay.
helping us
Oh
understand like what it,
man.
but of course that's what I was thinking about when it was it's like anyways, but I love that, I love that metaphor for what a solar eclipse can feel like if it's in an area of your cross. So the way, and it's funny that you're talking about the crossroads too, because if you have, oh, I should do this on my actual screen. So here's Aries right here. And like I said, your Aries might be like over here, it might be over here, it might be over here, depending on when your birthday is. But Aries is across from Libra, so that makes a straight line across. And then square to that over here is the Capricorn Cancer. Well, let me see, what degree is this? That's 19, right? So 19, 19, 19, the Capricorn Cancer axis. So it makes a perfect cross, like 90-degree cross, right? So if you have your sun, moon, or rising, or a major planetary aspect of some sort, if you have like a stellium of planets or a grouping of planets or something that falls in Aries, Libra, Cancer, or Capricorn, you are more likely to be getting hit with a challenging or what they would call a direct aspect to the solar eclipse. Whereas if you are like in a sextile or a trine, which would be a triangle, like a shorter triangle or a longer triangle, right? Then you're going to have softer aspects. Trines and sextiles tend to represent gifts and presents, things that are fruitful for you, like qualities that you possess that would be positive for you to be able to deal with the energies, versus if you have a lot in those crosshairs, then you're more likely to be having challenges and lessons and tensions. So it's interesting just to look at it in that basic way of, kind of obvious mathematics, right? These 90-degree angles are more harsh, they're more direct. So just an interesting way to look at it. Another really important thing about this solar eclipse is you notice that almost every single planet is on one end of this chart, okay? Usually we're going to see like a few things over here and a few things over here, right? This is a very polar solar eclipse. And so there's a cardinal sign, a fixed sign, and a mutable sign in this 3-house section over here. There's a fire sign, a water sign, an earth sign, and then Pluto is in this air sign. So every element is hit. Every stage of the cycle is hit by a direct angle, and every element is hit. So it's almost this feeling of there's kind of no escaping these energies right now. It doesn't matter if you're a fire sign, a water sign, an air sign, an earth sign. It doesn't matter if you're a cardinal heavy, fixed heavy, or mutable heavy. Over here, this little rectangle over here, you can see how much is in fire. The F is the fire sign. There's a lot of fire right now. There's Pluto is in an air sign. We've got 3 earth and 3 water signs, right? So it's kind of a fire heavy sign, and we're in this cardinal fire. So the sun and the moon are both in Aries. We talked about this Aries quality. And with Mercury right here at the very end of Aries, it looks like it's in Taurus, but the blue line of it is actually here. There just wasn't room for it right there. So in Aries, we have Mercury, the messenger, the moon, which is nurture, feelings, emotions. Oops, sorry guys. We have the sun, which is our raw being. We have Chiron, which is exactly conjunct to the degree at 19 degrees of Aries. Chiron is also conjunct. Chiron is the wounded healer. The wounded healer represents all the ways that we have been wounded and the ways that we have wounded others. It also represents the ways that we have been healed and the ways that we heal others. And the fact that these 3 are conjunct right now, this is really playing a role in the eclipse energies. And this is happening again on a personal scale. We've probably been dealing with this a lot more during the lunar eclipse times that just passed. But what a lot of us are probably looking at right now, as I know I am, are these really ancestral historical contexts within which we are experiencing our personal healing and our personal wounds. So there's a lot of talk about the recycling of ancestral traumas that we would see from events such as the Holocaust, the Nakba, previous to that, the Catholic Inquisition, where we began to have the burning at the stake of the Hermetics, which are actually, so the comet, there's a comet that's not shown here, but there's a comet called the Pons-Brooks Comet, which is also flying through this exact part of the sky as the eclipse is happening, and will also be flying through this part of the sky on April 20th when the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction happens. And so this Pons-Brooks comet, if you look back at the historical cycles of it, also lines up with all kinds of amazing occurrences. One of them being the beginning of the burning at the stake of the Hermetics, who were forced into exile or killed or burned or tortured or maimed. And that was at the rise of religious practices. The Catholic Inquisition was really about doing away with people that were going to defy the faith of the Catholic Church. And this was not only the burning of the witches and the pagans, but the Hermetics, who were historically studying things like astrology, alchemy, magic, the tarot. All of these things became forced into exile, right? And we're seeing this kind of rising up right now of these things. The Pons-Brooks comet was discovered for the first time in 1385. And that is when these movements were really gaining momentum. And so there's a lot of completions of things that we're seeing with ancestral practices when it comes to being forced into conversion, being forced to cover up, like the Converso Jewish lineage that my sister and I have in our family, people that were Jewish that were forced to start to be practicing Converso or behind closed doors. Um, and there's so many examples of this all over the world that, it would take like a whole hour to really probably talk about all that stuff. But if you look at that evolutionary tree of religion, and I'll post a link to it in the comments of our Facebook Live, you can see all the branches of the evolutionary tree that starts back with the earliest practices of spirituality and splits up into all the different types of shamanism that then splits up into all the different types of religions. And I mean, there's so many different theologies and practices to where we are now. And by looking at it visually, you can see how we as humans have split from being one human consciousness to several different labeled ways of being and thinking, which coincides with several different labeled ways of identifying race, sexuality, all of the things, you know? And so it's really interesting, this breaking apart, because of the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction that's going to happen later. And so I want us to be a little bit forward thinking from the solar eclipse moving into April 20th, because this is the most significant transit of the year. That's certainly how I'm treating it. There may be astrologers who are looking differently at that, but most of the astrologers that I follow and am in the loop with are considering this the most significant transit. And Uranus represents individuation. And Jupiter is kind of expands anything that it touches. So when we think about individuation and how we have really become the Tower of Babylon, We have really become all these different languages and all these different cultures and all these different religions and practices and societies and governments and states and cities and counties. And there's been this like ultimate dissolvement of the one. Like if the one is this big ball of dirt that you drop into a glass of water, we've really been splitting off into all these units. And the ultimate dissolvement is each person as an individual. And so what I really feel that we're being called to do is not only to preserve and protect our self identity and our individuation as unique fingerprints on the earth. We each hold a unique program and pattern and code through our DNA, through our star chart, through the life experience that we live, which is completely unique to us. Nobody else will ever live your individual life. And so, how can you not only have that respect for yourself, that you don't have to be, right, like famous or like wealthy or like have the most likes or followers, right, to live a very important piece of the puzzle and to have that respect for every other human being on the earth, regardless of what city, what state, what country, what religion, what practice, whatever, what
And
party.
wouldn't you say, sorry to interrupt, Barbie, but wouldn't you say, I just love this conversation so much. Wouldn't you say that the best way that you can be that important is to be so authentically you and not follow the herd and not do what others are doing and like find your fucking shit and master that. Like that is the ticket. And
I
in doing
absolutely,
so, you ripple and ripple and ripple, and every single human you touch ripples and ripples. So, like, it's infinite. But
yes,
if you're sitting there trying to copy and paste some shit that other people are doing, that's not who you really are, you're
yeah,
not you're not going to get there. This is
absolutely.
not authentic.
100%. The authenticity of our self-realization is pivotal and key to be able to kind of stay the middle path with individuation. So Uranus is individuation, and Neptune is the collective. So Neptune is the one. It is the primordial ocean from which every individual thing springs. Okay. So when you think about the middle path balance between self-realization and individuation and the one, there's a middle path that we are asked to stay as close to as possible, because another form of individuation can be ego expansion. And we don't want our individuation to be so extreme that we are no longer regarding others with respect and honor. So that's where we see a lot of themes of like narcissism. And we sometimes see, just from a psychological angle, I watched this woman's whole talk. I will also post in the comments of the Facebook Live, where she's talking about how a lot of these things are related to things like bipolar disorders, anxieties, like thinking too far into the future, depressions, thinking too far into the past, right? When it comes to our self-realization, there's this polarity of self because we do identify with cultures and we do have the lived experience of existing within a cultural identity and existing within racial identities and existing within identities of the neighborhood that we live in, the family that we were born into, the friends that we keep. So at the same time as we are having a very authentic self-realization process, there's a deep importance to have a very authentic association with the collectives, with the sister circles that we're within, like this. Um, who are you working with? Who are you choosing to associate with in life? And is that identity something that you were just born into or something that you associate with because it's patterned throughout history? Or is that really how you see yourself? Do you really guide your life, for instance, by not sinning? Like, what would Jesus do, right? Or do you call yourself Christian because that's where your whole neighborhood goes on Sunday? And that's where you like to eat donuts with them. And like really getting real about that. Because I've met, Christians and Jewish practitioners and people who are like really into all kinds of Wicca, all kinds of different things. And they're really true to that. And they really embrace it and they fully live their life by those moral compasses. And I think that those can be really true identities for people. But, keeping an eye on the labels, keeping an eye on the groups, as well as you are keeping an eye on your self-identity and respect that outward and inward respect for the authentic identity as individuals that we have is really important right now for sure. I just want to check the time because I feel like I've been talking for a long time. So yeah, I mean, I think all in all, like those three really important things for today that we touched on, which is that lunar eclipse energy of what is eclipsing for you on a personal level in your life. What are the things that are being revealed to you during this eclipse gate? How are you perceiving those things? What are the messages that you're receiving? The external ecliptic energy with this solar eclipse. And of course, all of this being overshadowed with the Chiron energies of wounding and healing. And what have we done to wound ourselves as individuals, as communities, as groups, as societies? How are we wounding others? And how have we been wounded? And what gifts can we take from that to be healing ourselves and to be healing others in the collective as well? Yeah.
So
And
if there's one or two or three or four things you could suggest people to do for the 4 minutes of the eclipse on Monday, what would you suggest people spend their time doing during that 4 minutes?
I think that what we really want to be looking at for today is what are the revelations and the reckonings that we're experiencing on a personal level and that we're experiencing outside of ourselves on a transpersonal level, on in a world stage level, you know, and how does our wounding and healing of ourselves and how we wound and heal others connect with that? So just really being intentional about who we are, what we have lived, and what we intend and what we're creating with those intentions.
I feel like the creation part is so important because you can talk about this stuff till the cows come home. You can write about it. You can, process it with a loving friend. But how do you alchemize it? How do you actually, what do you do with it? And that's why I feel like, and I know you'll agree with me, things like movement and dance and breath work, because it's doing something. And one of my greatest spiritual teachers, Blue, just did a podcast with a woman named Emily Fletcher recently, and she's talking all about how art has been her way of kind of transforming that. And what she talked about was this circle of, hopefully I'll get this right, this circle of like creating art. You get the transmission, the download to create something, and you create it. But then if you don't share it with people, you don't express it, it has to sit somewhere. It's like trapped. And that's where a lot of people's anxiety comes from. So the other half is that you must absolutely express it out, and that completes the circle.
Totally. I just
So
had a really
creation is everything.
heavy experience with that too, because I was actually asked by Stephinity, who just hopped on a little while ago, to kind of co-host a presentation on the eclipse energies and all of the like synchronistic mathematical things that are happening. And just like you with your dance ripple effect, which I love so much. I'm like so excited to get to do that with you. But I sat down and created an entire presentation creation. And I've
Mhm.
never done it quite in the way that I did it this time. And it was like that. It was like as soon as I sat down and I could feel that Aries spark, that initiative cardinal fire to just sit down and do it. Like just start it. Just do it, you know? And because of all the practice that I've put into my process over time of just going for it and not worrying about whether I fall or not, you know, and just letting, like you said, the transmission come and just let it come out, I ended up with something really beautiful. So yes, for everybody.
So cool, Barbara. All right, well, is it time to tap into something a little deeper? You want to
Do I need to share the host?
make me special? Yeah. So I'm going to drop us into a really nice guided meditation. So now would be a good time to do whatever you need to do and make some adjustments and get comfortable. You can sit up or lie down, whatever feels right for you. Mm. All right, Barbie, you'll have to let me know if you can hear the music. Can you hear it? Can you still hear my voice? Okay, cool. Okay, if you want to turn your screen off, Barbie. Okay. Close your eyes. Listen to your breath. Feel your heart beating. Become present with the truth of how magnificent your body is, working involuntarily right now to keep you alive. Your blood is pumping. Your fluids are circulating. The air coming in and out of your lungs is delivering oxygen to every single 28 trillion cells of your body. Give yourself permission to be blown away by this right now. Take a few deep breaths and visualize this magnificent process happening. With full presence, I invite you to bring into your awareness the stories you have latched onto in your life. The ones that you can't let go of. The ones that generate the negative self-talk, the doubt, the shame. The ones that tell you you are not good enough, that you don't belong, or that you don't deserve it. We're going to alchemize these stories tonight. In your mind's eye, imagine these stories gently lifting out of your body, feel them gently dancing off of you like the morning mist coming off the land during a sunrise. They are light energy now, forming into little tiny fireflies, little orbs of light, fire, and color. Witness their energy glowing just beyond your body. Take a good long look at each of them and how beautiful they are. And remember that most of them have protected you and kept you safe. They've taught you a beautiful lesson. And in the same breath, we realize that it's time to let them go and come into alignment with the next frequency of your life. As you look in the distance, you see this beautiful solar eclipse. The moon has now cast her shadow on the earth. She has gently taken over most of the sun. Everything has that fuzzy, vibrant glow, and you can feel the shift of energy. With every breath you take, I want you to exhale these little fireflies into the light that is left. With every breath, blow them gently into the depths of this eclipse. Visualize them softly fading into the light that remains in the outer edges of the sun that is peeking out just behind the moon's shadow. For the 4 minutes during this eclipse, we have an opportunity to alchemize our shadows into our gifts and manifest new frequencies for ourselves, create new possibilities, tell new stories, come into alignment with new vibrations for this next chapter of our lives. I want you to imagine the ripples created when you stand in your authentic frequency, how powerful your story is for others. Thousands of ripples that are created, which then ripple from each person your frequency touches outwards. It is infinite. You are magic. We are magic. We're going to breathe together now. I invite you to inhale all the energy coming from the sun, the earth, and the moon that are in alignment with each other. Take a very deep breath all the way to the top and hold it for a couple of seconds. Feel that beautiful body of yours again. And exhale through your mouth. Take another deep breath in through your nose. And hold it, feeling your heart beating. Imagine every single cell in your body vibrating. And exhale through your mouth. One last deep, nourishing breath in through your nose. And when you are ready, exhale with a deep, beautiful roar. Gift it is to sit with you all tonight. So much respect for women that sit in circle like this. The music will keep going. You can do some writing if you wish. Take some more deep breaths. And when you're ready, you can start wiggling your fingers and your toes. Bring yourself back into the space. Whenever you like, you can open your eyes. Chime in if you want now, and we'll kind of close it out. We have about a minute left.
It was another amazing vibe. Thank you. Thank you. That was very needed.
Oh.
It
Yeah,
was
that
the
was
opposite feeling of today.
so good. I loved the like imagination story that you took us through.
Nice.
The fireflies, and I can't even remember everything that you said, but that that voice, ugh, that voice of yours, it just takes me back. Like I feel like I'm like 4 years old. Anyways,
Oh.
so good, so nurturing. You have a very nurturing sound to your.
Mm,
Yes, very soothing voice.
Mm.
nice. I'm gonna get myself a new microphone and start recording some of these.
Oh, I
I
love.
Tis time.
Do we want to do a quick like what are we all up to real fast? I know you have something going on tomorrow night, Emmy.
Yeah, sure. We can do a little plug real quick. I got my Ripple Effect ecstatic dance happening tomorrow night. If anybody wants to come, shoot me a private message and I'll send you the Zoom link. It's also happening within the fluorescent space if you're a member of that community, and that's at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that'd be 4 p.m. Mountain Time, Ashley. And I'm going to attempt to record it. So if you can't make it live, you might be able to catch it on the flip side.
Yeah, I definitely want to catch it like right after. It's kind of I'm sad because we have a thing at the same
I
time,
know.
but I
We've
will
double booked
definitely
ourselves.
I'll definitely enjoy it after. But what I do love about it is how the thing that you're doing is like a deep like embodiment thing. So I feel like if somebody feels like they really want to get out of their head and into their body, that's like such a great way to go. And our event is
Yeah.
a little bit more like heady, like intellectual,
Hmm.
academic sort of like dive into like the specific astrological historical bioenergetic context of the eclipse. And we're getting sick tomorrow if you're in Denver. It's at the Community Hub in Wheat Ridge. So I have some stuff posted with Stephinity. She's here with us, but off camera. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me. We do have a way that you can virtually attend and also attend in person. How about you, Ashley? Do you have like a cool gig this weekend or something?
I am actually working all weekend this weekend, but I would definitely love to attend your guys' events. So please keep me in the loop. And
Yeah.
I live in Wheat Ridge, so I live really close.
Nice.
Just one thing I wanted to mention is also, the number 8 is like a really powerful number in numerology. So
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
think that's pretty significant. It like symbolizes, infinite possibilities and manifestation and like growth.
Hmm.
Also like the
So I thought that
Vesica
was pretty cool.
Pisces. So like like the Venn diagram symbol, which is also
Yeah.
Mm.
like an eclipse happening, right? Where it's like one circle moving over the other circle. And that's like also called a Vesica Pisces cycle or symbol as
Hmm.
well. I was thinking about that too. I was like, oh, there's so many synchronicities with the numbers and the everything. But
Yeah.
we have a thing as well, me and Krystal coming up on the actual
On
eclipse.
Monday.
Yes,
Yes.
Krystal. I'm co-hosting with Krystal. It's really her like sister circle group vibe that she has going on. So tell us a little bit.
I think I am still, I didn't know I wasn't unmuted. Um, I feel like every couple days I'm resetting my thoughts. Like the theme is still the same, love thyself, but every couple days, like I'm finding new examples. But I've gotten good at just showing up and being what is, and
Yeah.
it always works out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I trust I can be 20 more people between now and the 8th.
Always. And I'm not sure, Stephinity, are you in a place with a microphone that can work? Do you have anything else going on that you want to talk about or mention?
Hey, just really excited about our talk presentation tomorrow. We have a stellar slideshow. We're talking about so many interesting things about this eclipse. Obviously the astrology with Barbara, but beyond that, like strange holographic anomalies, mathematical things, like weird current events with CERN and biblical prophecy and all the things. So come check it out. And just like preparations and where we are as humans too. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being
So
here,
cool.
Stephinity. All right, ladies. Well, I think that's a good time to wrap it up. Thank you so much and just for being here and sharing your energy
Yeah.
with us today. And
Thank you, and nice to meet you, other ladies. I look forward to connecting again.
mwah, everybody, goodbye,
Nice to
Facebook.
have you here, Ashley.
Adios.
Bye,
Happy
ladies.
eclipse.